historically before we, I guess, put numbers into the budget. So I guess tonight is more of a heads up on where everyone's at, rather than seeing, for example, like we've done the past, everybody submitted their numbers, and I'm just making this up here, we're $300,000 over, okay, where can we cut to get a little on budget, and where have we made our revenue? Okay, hey, we know this is increasing due to the contract increases of whatever. So I guess I'll start with my department. I know Jeff and I were talking for on vacation this week. Basically, the only change that's going to happen in our department is obviously just the salary increase of the city administrator, the clerk, and the administrative assistant. Obviously, we don't have what the insurance numbers will be yet. So we don't have those numbers, so that's basically the only increase that we'll have in my department, in the front office. The chief and I were talking prior to this meeting and previous before. Basically, the same thing there. The only thing that's going to increase would be the salaries of the officers. And we just did like rough numbers on where we're at, where we would be at, with an increase between 30 to 35,000 in salaries. And I know he's working with Derek on the One Cops grant for getting $50,000 for 3 officers over the next 5 years. So that's $150,000 for the next, if we would get awarded for the grant for 5 years, $150,000 if we get awarded 4 years. So that's basically like the big increase on the police department. Once again, the insurance, all that stuff, we don't know those numbers. We can come back from the from the broker and all that kind of stuff, so we don't know them right away. And I know he's been working with Derek on trying to get a lot of grants to cover the cost of things that we know are coming down the road, like we did our TASER project, we know it's a 10-year project, we put grants in for that. So, you know, it could offset a lot of these things that we have budgeted for, but obviously we need to budget them just in case they don't go through. So those, like I said, this is my department, and with the police department, those are the biggest increases, not the biggest increases, those are the increases that we've seen just because of the salaries that we've reached in the police contract, and also whatever the salaries may be that we approve across the board. So that's basically for us. I didn't know if anybody wants to go next, saying what they see coming down the pike and next year for what they may need, not need. So
sorry, just a point of clarification. It's $125,000 for the cops grant, and that's for total over. So
okay.
It's not $125,000 per year. It's $125,000 over total. You're right about the 4th year, but you have to keep them for an additional year, so it has to be at least 4 years.
Yeah, but you know, either way, it's still a hell not substitute, right? We're balance out the budget if we would happen to get that. But once again, we got a plan. If we don't get it, we got to make sure it's in there. But if we do get it, it's still anything that will help. Yes, yes, yeah.
So, I mean, technically, it's really, I mean, it's one. At the end of the day, it's one officer because it's $125,000 over a 3-year period. So, if you think about it as how much you pay an officer over a 3-year period, that ends up paying for, we'll say, one officer. I mean, not in totality because you have the insurance and everything else on top of that. So
it's for treatment. Is it just for like
it would be new. That's a new officer. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really paid.
And with Riley, and not Riley, with Gary leaving, it goes right into what we obviously need to replace him. So it'll go right into what we want to do.
Right. Then you're going to turn around and say you need the boss.
You either want officers or you want private. Like I'm so sick and tired of of battling between whether you want officers or you don't want money here or for that. But it is because if we can get 3, let's get 3.
Scary if you play scary.
Right.
You're going to hire another one. Let's say you're going to hire another one.
I'd love to hire 3 or 4 more.
Who's paying the taxes?
This
is where we need to figure this out.
This is our issue. We need to figure out. Not what just police officers.
If I had $12,700, you know, from a grant, like I would be able to use that towards another guy. But no, I couldn't get that either done because every time I try to do something, you know, and push something forward, it goes 3 steps back.
And this is our issue to figure out as council. Like Steve needs guys out of DPW. Everybody needs guys. And you're hurting for guys. We need them. And it's every year we talk about it. Oh, whatever, taxes. It's our job as elected officials to figure it out. We can't stop. We keep kicking the can down the road every year. We keep doing the same budget the same way every year, and we do nothing different than we expect a different outcome. It's the definition of insanity. Let's do something different. Let's stop doing the same type of budget every year. Why don't we put all the money in, look at our necessities that we have to pay, salaries, equipment, insurances, whatever, and see what discretionary funds we have left and say, all right, Steve, what do you need for equipment? I'm just making this up. What do you need? What do you need? And then we actually do an actual budget, not the same for, I'll just use me as an example. Oh, I have $2.2 million, I gotta figure out what I need to do. There's so much wasteful spending in here because every year we have a little bit of a carryover.
This is what we were talking about. I think this was Lisa's intent, was to go through this and look at it line item, where we're at currently, and then kind of look at it from a standpoint of moving forward, do we need to carry that load in each line item? So is this line item where, listen, we can go back over the last, and that's why she put so many years on here. In fact, you look at it and say, listen, we're averaging, let's say, $4,000 a year on this item, yet we continually budget $10,000.
Yeah.
Why can't we just reduce that down to $4,500, have essentially have a $500 contingency in there instead of doubling or that type of thing? And that was more the intent, I believe, of this.
Correct,
this
yeah.
meeting.
But, there's only so, and I 100%
It
agree.
wasn't even to talk about this
Yeah.
year's upcoming budget.
But there's only so much we can take, like salaries and individual, like insurances and salaries. That's where we're hurting. Like, you know what it costs to hire someone and get skilled labor.
Yes.
And we can't keep kicking the can down the road saying, well, we'll worry about it later. We have no strategic plan, a 5-year financial plan, a 10-year or a 20 in place for the city of Sunbury at all.
Well, you have to also consider, we haven't had enough information.
Oh, exactly. And we keep saying, what we're gonna do. We need to figure it out. Like, we have to actually sit down and realize we have a problem and we need to figure it out. I said it for the last 3 years. We are not generating more tax revenue in the city of Sunbury. We lose every single year. So what are other municipalities doing that we are not? They are generating revenue. You see municipalities around us growing, getting new businesses, getting new jobs. What are they doing different that we are not? And that's what we need to figure out. That's just my own opinion. I'm not saying it's the right one, but we're doing the same thing and we're expecting a different outcome. And we say the same thing every single budget season.
But we also have to keep in mind, the city of Sunbury, it's different than a lot of the municipalities, because we don't have that ability to put in like a development or something like that, that does hinder us.
And we're also not a college town.
Exactly.
We can't compare ourselves to
I agree.
Lewisburg.
Correct, but like, we need to do something different. We have to realize, okay, we're not a college town. We don't have these businesses anymore. But like, we need to do something different. Like, we can't just say, well, we don't have them. Okay, we know we don't have them. We need to look, okay, what do we have? What can we change to try something different and to try something new? Because it's 2025, it's not the 80s or the 90s anymore, or even the 2010s. Like, we have to start doing things up to modern standards.
I don't disagree with you, Judge. There's only so many dollars to go around.
Correct.
And you got it. And one of the things you did say about it is prioritizing. The other thing is that, I believe there's plenty of but, we get our budgets, for the sake of our budgets, we have budgets, responsible way that we pay for these other budgets. We get to prioritize, not just prioritize, we have to look at where the dollars are and what this being used. And, there's no industry in Sunbury.
Correct.
You got the county. The largest thing in Sunbury is the county.
Correct.
With all the employees. The second largest thing in is the recreation.
So maybe we should start
So
capitalizing.
maybe we ought to start capitalizing.
Exactly, and stop, and I 100% agree. I think that's where our claim to fame is,
And I
our
also think,
recreation.
if you get a couple more people to work up there, and I know it's hard to do because nobody wants to work, but maybe keep a full over a little more. That's hard to do. I understand that because you don't have people to work. That's what we gotta start concentrating on.
I 100% agree. Like, we gotta see what our assets are.
Up there.
I mean, and they're not, and no one plays them.
Well, they do. They use them a lot early on.
Well, yeah.
Later in the year, they're not used.
Exactly, and it's just like I saw up in there in Williamsport. They're investing in a multi-million-dollar complex up there, all turf fields, 7, 8 fields up there to bring in the revenue, so it's there all year round.
That's a nice idea. In the same way, you talking about that group of people that's looking at the skate park. Hey, maybe we can concentrate on that.
it gets people spending money, it gets an influx of people coming into Sunbury. And I 100% agree. I think, as you said, like, from the county, it goes to recreation. Why don't we invest in our recreation? Because guess what? When people go to communities, they're going to go do things. Like anytime someone goes on vacation, they go because they want to do different things outside their normal hometowns. That could be here. We should be investing in our recreation. That's what I think we should be doing. Yeah.
Other than downtown, and we were maybe concentrating a little more downtown there, or when all people are coming into the county for the court, whatever it is. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's on a regular basis. It's always going to happen.
What makes anybody want to stop in Sunbury as you're traveling through on 61?
They don't. They just keep driving through. And that's the truth that you said. You'll see thousands of cars. Yeah.
Raising taxes, I'm not opposed to raising taxes, it's really bad.
Eventually, we're going to have to. That's just.
It's a product that's required. You can't do anything about that.
But we need to start investing in our community and growing our community.
I would say, with this budget, these budgets, I would start out with what? Look at what you budgeted last year. Do a zero-based budget, which means you don't increase anything until you absolutely have to. So you got $9,000 budgeted for debt service delinquency. Don't raise it, keep it at 9,000. Or if it's really skewed off, drop it down some.
Yeah, we have more accurate budget.
The bottom line figures, then look at it, and then prioritize where you're gonna spend money. I'm not saying you only do more officer status, but where's it stop? How many officers do you need?
Well, I can tell you this. Coach calls us, we're working a robbery, at gunpoint, pizza delivery guy. Coach calls us, we end up getting 4 in custody on that. I have 2 officers. I have myself and another officer. But we're working a robbery. Plus, we also just got done doing a drug delivery. Like, I have outside sources coming. You have to invest in your
How
infrastructure.
many officers do you need?
And to do it right, 4 people.
That's way more than what the report showed.
But that,
No, the report shows for us, we're 22. FBI report is 22.
No.
they're talking about the comprehensive plan we had
Well,
done.
anybody can pay and have anybody, you can pay anybody to tell you how many people you have to have.
That wasn't true.
But how many cops are we supposed to have?
The ordinance says 15.
Yeah, 15. That's when I came here with 15.
Who says?
The ordinance that we have on our ordinance.
City ordinance is 15.
But regardless of how many we think we should have or don't have, you also have to look at statistics. Like, I just looked over statistics, was it?
That's something we do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been in there for a while, it was before my time. But, I mean,
35 years.
that does hinder us too, because
That's when we probably have
grants look like we're subsidizing our.
But you also, like, if you look at our call volume, last month, just in calls from the 911 center, we had 800 calls. That doesn't include the calls of the police station themselves.
But I'm not arguing.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, like, this is why, like, the justification behind why we need so many, because, like, a robbery, it's not like, okay, we got the guy, now we take him back and we go out and do the next thing. You have hours and hours of paperwork with officers tied up that can't go out and do other things when other calls come in. So this is why we say we need these number of officers on the streets. Another thing, like, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And like, I'm not saying, you're not saying we don't need them, but like, the numbers of the statistics that we're showing, like, we're trying to justify why we need the officers because of the call volume of what they're doing. And, looking at the other call volume, because I don't want to compare other municipalities, but looking at the number of officers that they have compared to call volume, like, we're skewed off the charts because they have just as many officers as we have with half the number of phone calls that we get in calls. So, and they complain when they get more calls. So, like, we're busting our butts. And we're doing a disservice to the people because we can't get to them right away. And depending how the seriousness of what's going on, like, it's not good. And that's why we're saying, like, how many you'd like to have? Yes, that's how many we'd like to have to get the job done with this.
But don't we have backups? I mean, don't we have, doesn't Rory come over and assist, and don't we
You
go over and
can't
assist
take
Rory
Nori, that's the
and
problem. You
slow
can't
down?
take Nori and Point Township out of their jurisdictions to come help us.
I can't.
We're not
I
stopping.
don't know.
Unless it's like a
Yeah.
major, like something major, but like the normal everyday calls, they just can't come over and answer our calls because.
Right. Like our investigation, like the robbery investigation, but that hasn't really been out there. You know, it was Papa John's driver that got robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah,
That was-
where that one?
Yeah, that was National Night Out. I couldn't even attend National Night Out. I was down there for 5-10 minutes because we had a robbery at gunpoint during the day. You know, and then I took that investigation on myself because everybody else is tied up on, you know, there's 3 homicides we're doing. So, like, it's just, there's a lot of work to be done down there, and, you know, the child or the CACs that basically come in, we're getting 5-6 of them a week, you know, child abuse investigations. So you have to assign somebody to that, you know, and then trying to basically just being out running calls. It gets very, it's taxing.
And it's just like going back to Steve, like Steve, how many guys do you need to be able to do what you gotta do efficiently down there on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, we're like 2 guys short, 2 full-time short and a part-time basically, to get the full capacity, to be able to do all the things we need to do, and we do what we can, and
Yeah, and I hate to say it, things get put on the back burner because you don't have enough men.
Yeah,
Jim, how many
sure.
guys do you need up there to run the ring? That's a 7-day-a-week job. How many guys do you need up there?
More than what we have.
Exactly, so like, we can't keep running on a skeletal basis and expect when people come and complain, well, we don't have the manpower. It's not an excuse, that's the excuse we use all the time. We have to fix the problem, we gotta figure out.
but listen, that's something that the people got, they're the ones you're gonna raise the taxes on, they have to say whether or not it's worth it to them to do these things, is what I'm just trying to say.
Oh, no, I
You
agree.
need to have public forums on that, and, because if you're talking about doing all this, then they need to be involved, because they're ultimately the ones that pay our salaries and.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right, and we're doing it, like, that's what I keep telling Josh, is like, you know, talk to the mayor, like, we're doing a disservice. If you don't invest in community first, and being that community is what we're, you know, around, you know, we're doing a disservice to the community when you have an investigation that's sitting 6 months on a child that's been assaulted because you just can't get around to it. Like, that's a disservice to the community, and it gets, you know, do I get a little, I'm very irate about it right now, because there's only certain things that we can do, and I feel like we're just letting people down. I don't wanna let people down. I'm tired of letting people down.
I have 2 questions. Chief, what's your current complement of police officers? Like, how many do you have?
Right now, we have 10
Full-time?
full-time.
And any part-time?
Yeah, we have, well, we had 8, but I just trimmed 3 of them because none of those guys will work. They have full-time jobs.
4 part-time?
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing is, I do, you know, this isn't a grand statement for tonight, but I mean, I think if we're gonna talk about really sitting down and looking at this, you know, as we are, Josh, like you're talking about a different style, Lisa wants to rearrange the line items, I think we need to look at structural overhauls. But I mean, that means that I can't have Jim on an island, I can't be on an island, and you can't be on an island. Like, we've gotta actually sit down and do this. So if we're gonna look at a long-term investment into Parks and Rec, then we need to look at what that looks like in budget dollars. If we're gonna look at another police officer or somebody else down at DPW, we gotta actually look at it. And I think what I'm hearing is, I mean, there's 3 of us here, but I mean, the spirit of it to do it is there, but it's gonna have to be some hard conversations where we're actually all putting in the work and not just coming to budget meetings and saying, okay, yeah, this is what I wanna do this time. We need to actually put in the work behind the scenes, come with plans, hammer them out in public, and then just go back to the drawing board and get it done. I mean, I think you're right, I think we need to stop talking about it. This is, there are structural issues, but as much as we're doing that, when we're looking at investments, I wanna make sure that those investments are translating to revenues for next year and increasing revenue, and not just, we can whack expenditures all day long, but we're not gonna get to where we need to be unless we start generating more revenue. And if you, I mean, for us and for the public, I mean, if you look at these budget reports, yeah, we are below in taxes. It's declining every year, but also our rec is increasing every year. I mean, our income is actually increasing. It's just a matter of what pots we're pulling it from. So we need to look at what we can capitalize on.
I think we should be starting on the revenue side.
And just so everybody is aware, I've already had conversations with DCNR and DCD about renovations, expansions, whatever it would be up there as far as up at the skate rink and everything. But they would, before you go for any grants, they would require a assessment of, or study basically, to dive into, you know, looking at the financials. All right, they're going up every year. What is your capacity? Are you at capacity for ice skating? So does that involve, you know, them putting money into a second ice rink? Whatever it may take, they want to look at into just like Councilman Savage said, everything in totality before they would want to put any money into it. But it kind of goes along with what you guys are saying as far as planning for the future and looking at expansion, renovation, whatever it may be, to increase potential revenue.
Also, a lot of those, we're gonna have to look at where the matches can come from, and if we are for budget matches that are available.
Yeah. You're looking for a study just at one place, and we're not talking about a totality of a city. You're probably looking at between 40 and 70,000 total, with probably a 30% match.
And here's the thing, if we do take the dive and do that, it can't be one of those things, all right, we got it done, now we put it up on the shelf, like we're gonna do with the comprehensive, not we're gonna do, like the comprehensive plan that was done 10, 15 years ago. All right, we got it done, and now this sits on the shelf, all pretty collected dust. Like, I mean, it's true, like we get these studies done, and okay, we got them done, we paid whatever thousands of dollars, now we don't follow through with it. Like if we're gonna take the plunge and do it, as you know, Derek said or Nate said, we actually have to follow through on it. And we don't follow through anything. I don't say anything, but things that we invest in, we don't follow through on.
So, last year, I think, at the same time, I did talk to Travis and I did talk to Derek. I did research and I looked and I saw that there are communities that do that $5 or $10 for the emergency services, whether they're, some are paid firemen that are in their cities or whatever, or the police. Is that something to look at now? Because you're not raising taxes, but you're doing that on that side. And I talked to you about that, Travis. We actually looked it up, where it generates that extra money that's needed.
Yeah, we talked about it in January, but then we didn't move it.
So that actually ties into the consolidation of the fire department, because there have been conversations, because I've talked to Joel, I know Joel's researching it, of, for lack of a better word, like a overall authority that has the ability to put on something.
It's like
that,
$10 a household
yeah,
or something,
correct.
but it raises
based
enough.
off of the property, not like
That's right.
the individual. So, you know, that's something that has been done, I believe, in other municipalities.
100%. But
But
it alleviates that problem part of it where you're working on something else, because that makes up the difference of whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 35 office, whatever the case may be, whatever you charge them. But it's not raising the taxes per se.
Still another tax.
Travis, he tried.
It is. It is. It's definitely a tax, but it's not,
Yeah.
you're not paying
so
that.
that's where Joel's
It's like a
kind of
yearly fee you
researching,
pay to the
because
city, just like,
it's,
Yeah, no, I know.
what we were talking about
and
was
for me personally,
future
for
consolidation
$5.
for the fire department, but also
No, yeah.
regionalization for police department. We talked more on that side of things, so I'm not sure as far as like just specifically our
It's not like saying
police department,
village-wise, I should say.
but in
But it has
totality
worked in
of
other places,
creating
you
a
know,
overarching
we don't have
umbrella
enough
that
property
can house
owners to actually.
a consolidated and regionalized fire department and police department is possible. But as far as just our police department, we didn't really ask that question.
Well, I saw it with just the police departments, that, and also with paid fire departments, which we don't have.
Yeah,
Now, Francis, wherever you've seen that at, third-class city code is different than a municipality like a borough or township.
That could be the case, I don't know, I'm just,
What it is, it's a 911 tax.
yeah, I don't know, that,
Levied by the city.
Levied by the city.
well, no, so that's where the research kind of comes in with Joel, because you'd be.
Travis is right, that's what it's called.
My understanding is kind of how the city has created the authority as an entity. My understanding is the city would create a separate, I'm gonna call it authority, that is for emergency services and has kind of the same type of leeway as far as, so it's not a tax, it's a separate entity, so it's a fee for service, basically. Again, this is, you know, very early stages of research, but that's from my understanding.
Yeah, we kind of do that now with the recreation tax and the library tax,
correct, same kind of concept.
so.
But Joe, I'm not sure we can do that.
No, I know, I don't think it's a good idea either, but I'm just saying that's similar to what we do already with the other stuff. It's just another tax.
Did you see it somewhere?
I have, in that January meeting, I have a document, basically, Joel was gonna look into it. And then it kind of didn't go.
I know he's talked to the individual that's doing the fire department consolidation. Oh my gosh, his name's slipping my mind. but they've
Rob
talked,
Brady.
Thank you. They've talked, and because Joel wasn't too familiar with it, but Rob's seen it with fire departments, and we started asking, can you do that with police departments, and kind of snowballed from there. I don't have the concrete answers of if third-class city could do it, if we can't do it, and we had to create the authority and they could do it. I don't have those concrete answers, but from my understanding, that is the very 1,000-foot view of how it would work.
But I don't see why you couldn't do an authority, a public safety authority, any more than you do a municipal authority. Any more than the county did the general authority. And you've used it for a
You mean a
while.
taxing authority?
It would be a fee for service.
Well, but under third class city.
I mean, yeah,
It's still a tax, right, it's still a tax. It's
Just like any other.
Yeah.
technically, yeah, you're correct. It doesn't matter if it, I mean, in the sense of it being the citizens, it doesn't matter if it's a tax or a service. However, it just matters with the legality of the laws of whether it's the authority saying, hey, we can do it as a fee, where the taxing body as a third-class city can't do it because it's considered a tax. So at the end of the day, yes, it's the same to the citizens, but the legality of how it's structured only matters because of, you know, the ability to do it, basically.
There's a question. Does the county's reassessment, is that gonna affect the city's revenues at all?
It will, most likely.
We'll find out when it gets done, you know, it's one
Yeah,
of
I
those.
didn't know if it'd be, if it would raise it or low, you know, if it would.
Spank, that's what I.
Yeah, it'd be one of those things until it's completed. Nate, you know what's gonna get completed? So in
Oh, okay,
28.
it's gonna take that long, okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, so in 29, we'll know where we're at, whether it's either good or bad.
Spank, when I was looking through the numbers, last week, and this is something I would not know, so that's why I'm just asking you. But like Burger King, you know, it's been the same thing, it's 32,000, 32,000, 32,000.
Doesn't want to raise it, they don't want to raise it.
And Sunoco's 19,
No.
but Career Link is $100,000. And they're just right here. That's $100,000.
No, Travis, Burger King and Sunoco.
There's
They
an
increase each year.
It's like a 2%, 2.5% on any. Sometimes the numbers don't always equate into the budget.
I mean, I'm just looking at like, Link has 1 floor, 2 floors here.
Yeah.
They're paying $100,000.
I think there's a lot I think there's a lot included with that though, like their heat and stuff.
It's under 211,
Second page.
second page.
Uh,
It just, none of this goes up forever. It goes up by a couple thousand.
Well, yeah, it's
Contract is a year, it's a 20-year contract.
So it has to do with the lease term.
Correct. I think we
And
just,
Sunoco is, we own about 80% of that parcel up there. And Burger King, we own everything that's there.
So, I mean, the odds are nicer, so what I'm saying, so what that basically looked like was like 20 years ago, or whenever you went into the contract, it was just, that's what you came up with for a certain amount of years.
The contract, I think, was 10 years old, I'm guessing, okay? And there's an increase built in there for the next 20 years. I don't have copies of the contract, of course. That's what we're.
So basically, we can't do anything until year 21, as far as renegotiating, unless both entities agree to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I was looking at was why, like, Berlin's like 1 floor, and we're charging them $100,000, but we're only charging Burger King $20,000.
I don't know if the rent there, where is truly all rent, that might include
Oh, that's also part of the space.
parking spaces, utilities, gas, electric, heat, all that kind of stuff go into that.
but you are right, I mean, the actual cost of Burger King stuff was very low for what it should be.
Back in the day,
Right, I mean, I get what
Back in
you're
the
saying.
day,
Yeah.
I mean, I know what we pay, I know what the county pays for, what we're paying for rental space. A lot more than that.
Somebody probably knew somebody.
no, we needed Spanky there.
Well, I don't think city government should be given things away.
100% agree. So other than, as you know, as Steve and I and Lisa said, like going through and seeing, okay, what's high, what's low, what's staying the same. I mean, are we gonna solve anything here tonight before we get the numbers to put into the budget?
I do have one more question, the Old Turkey Hill, is the city buying that, or we not really doing that?
Well, if the city buys it, we gotta come up with the money to buy it.
How much was it?
I don't know if we can legally say. I'd rather not make a comment on the matter at this time without our solicitor present.
So when you look at some of this stuff, and I know it's kind of hard to estimate what you're gonna do. But, for example, this year, parking meter streets, we budget $35,000, but so far we only collected $6,500. And now we're getting into the part of the year where we got to arrest people.
Where's that at?
Page,
Under police revenue, or mayor/police department revenue.
That's how the text.
I mean, that's where it is, but it's really not a
This
police
year.
issue.
Yeah, that's.
Travis, how's the pay per text? How's that?
It's actually doing better than we thought. So we had a kid who was gonna do community service, had to get information on the meters, and the coins itself was, I don't know the exact dollar, it was 6,000 for the coins, and text to pay was 2,000 and some change as well. So people are using it.
What does it cost to run?
I don't know those numbers. I would ask, well, the former treasurer of Troop, we'd all like to complain about it, but he's not here at the moment to say what the cost is.
Since there's a lull, can I just throw something out there for you? You're talking a lot about, the plans that get made and then they're on a shelf and they're not actually implemented. You do have an opportunity with the comprehensive plan that you're just finishing up and it'll come to you for your adoption soon. And also the blueprint communities, the downtown revitalization. We have a 5-year strategic plan and it marries up to your comprehensive plan. Your comprehensive plan has a goal for downtown revitalization. And so SRI and that blueprint community downtown Sunbury team, SRI is the anchor organization, will be implementing that portion of your comprehensive plan through our 5-year downtown revitalization plan. So I am putting a plug in for the city to invest a bit every year to SRI for implementation of that plan. For instance, your economic development line item, a portion of that, $10,000, $20,000, could go towards SRI, that would go towards the downtown management program that's directly impacting your downtown revitalization. It wouldn't just be like SRI is not gonna just take it, we're gonna pay ourselves or something. It would be towards that downtown revitalization projects and personnel too.
When, Jody, when will the plan be completed? Or is it one of those things that's like in stages, like stage?
We're almost done. So
Okay.
on September 15th, you're gonna be invited back to the business dinner like you did last year, the Reimagine Sunbury. This time it is vision to impact. So taking everything that was given to us from the business community at that Reimagine Sunbury dinner, I'm gonna show you how we have put that into the plan and now we're gonna be implementing it. Our strategic plan will be finalized by October. We graduate in October or November, I can't remember, one of those. But anyway, then it is game on for implementing that plan. We have action plans that have actual tasks associated with each one of the goals and objectives that have timelines that begin this fall.
Okay, so I'm just throwing a what if out there. So I'll say we invest $10,000 for the, I'm just making them $10,000 for the downtown management to invest the plan. So what's the cost, I guess, on your guys' end to implement the plan? I mean, for example, I'll say phase 1 is to do ABCD tasks. Like, is there a cost to do ABCD tasks, or is this a matter of following through on ABCD tasks?
There are some costs associated with individual tasks. For the downtown management, there is the cost of the manager sending them There are at least 3 or 4 workshops, continuous training that they go on in the Main Street program. There's the designation application that gets submitted. There's the marketing that takes place out of that office, the events, downtown events that will be coming out of that office, that will all be part of that. So when I put together the plan for paying for downtown management program, I kind of slid in there a hope that we would get some money, a contribution from the city for it.
And what were you looking at for contribution?
For that particular 10,000 I put in,
Okay.
as potential. And then we can see how it goes for the first year. Maybe you'll want to invest more in the future, but I think that would be a good starting point.
So what is, like, I'm just curious now, so the implementation of the plan, what is considered success in the plan, I guess? Like, okay, we complete the task, but what's considered, okay, it was a success in completing the task, I guess you may say? Or is that really a measurement, it's just a matter of, hey, we did it and...
Nope, we put in measures for everything. So, for instance, part of the plan is to put together kind of a task force on downtown development. That's going to rely on a property inventory, selecting some priority properties, and then taking action to aggressively market them and to get tenants in them or people to buy and invest and develop them. So that's the measure of success. Is there another building downtown previously vacant or underutilized that has now got higher utilization?
Yeah.
We start with those baseline numbers and then we'll compare them year by year.
Okay, and for the downtown manager position itself, like, what is that gonna look like in salary, hours worked? Like, what's that look like?
So the recommended salary and benefits package for a downtown manager from the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, salary is around $60,000, $65,000 a year. We're not starting out at $60,000, $65,000 a year. We are planning in the more of the ballpark of $45,000 a year, but it will be full-time, located. The office may have to be located in the Albright Center, but we are looking for properties downtown that we can put them, that downtown manager in the downtown. There's other things that could be associated with that office, for instance, an information area, place where people can sell locally made crafts and products and things, kind of a welcome center, if you will, information center for the city. So those are all on the table.
And you guys think that salary is sustainable for you guys long-term? Let's just say the city doesn't invest. Do you think that's sustainable for long-term of your 10-year plan that you have? Like,
That 45 it would not be.
okay.
Because the problem that Pennsylvania Downtown Center identified is that burnout happens with downtown managers every 4 to 5 years. And part of keeping them at least that 4 to 5 years is having a good compensation package. So that's why they recommend that, and that they have health insurance and all of that stuff in their compensation package.
Okay. Just curious.
But we would also, with the designation, we will be applying for Main Street designation and hopefully have it in 2026. That then gives us access to operational funds from the Main Street Matters program. It starts out at $75,000 a year for the first 2 years. Goes down to 50, goes down to 25, and
For
then
you
it
to
goes
pick
down.
up the difference, basically.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to figure out the sustainability plan, and we have some guidance from Pennsylvania Downtown Center, what other communities do. But it's gonna be a partnership between the municipality, nonprofit, and businesses in the city.
Okay.
And Jody, I'm sorry, I had a question too. So with, when you guys are like looking at marketing buildings or like all the different pieces that you just kind of alluded to, are you also working with places like the Visitor Center, Focus Central, you know, like the other, like,
Yes.
Okay, so like you're going with the raw data stuff, but you're also going with the economic development piece of it and kind of all pulling together?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And when we put together those work groups, we'll be looking for representation from those entities that impact that particular thing that we're working on, you know? So we will be at least consulting with Drive and Focus Central PA and others, Pennsylvania Downtown Center, because there are strategies for identifying which are your properties that are kind of the best investment investment to start off with, because once they would have the potential to have a domino effect with either buildings next door or similar types of investments.
This is a total tangent, but do we, I don't know, Chief, if this is a you question or Derek, maybe you question, maybe both, but the police co-responder grant for, I think it's a social worker or some mental health responder, what's the status of that? Or,
We looked at that and then, I think going far, that table.
we table it? Can I vote on it? The table for going for that grant?
Well, it was looked at, it wasn't voted to go for.
Yeah.
So, it was, other items needed priority within the police department at that time, I should say.
I mean, we could still look at, go with somebody, but.
And it was also a little different, if I remember, when we had that meeting, it was a little different than we thought it was, because it was also, it wasn't a specific grant for it, it was, you just work it into any grant.
Working into the budget, right, and now CSIU is willing to work with a grant person to basically apply for that grant to get that person here.
It was a little different, our conversation when we had it, because we thought it was a separate grant. It's not actually a grant itself, it's just a program that you work into a grant, basically. No.
Yeah, so does that answer that? Basically, we can.
It's not the answer I was looking for, but it's an answer.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, so if we do, let's say we budget it in and then we go for the program, I mean, is it a reimbursement type?
It is for so many years, but my thing is, I mean, I'd love to have somebody like that, and that'd be somebody, co-responder, basically. What they do is, if we had something during the day, mental health, they would come out to us, okay? And then they would complete follow-ups with that individual. So it's not doing any, I mean, it's for community growth, absolutely love it, because we have a lot of mental health calls. So community growth, yes, love it, but correcting something with the police department, like having that's not another officer, they don't have a gun, they don't have anything, they have a
From the
desk.
mental health
It's
issue.
on mental health issues on. But
So it's pretty much creating a new position
Right.
for the
And
mental
it's
health, not an officer who's trained.
And it's a great thing, like, I think it's I mean, especially with guys that are opening up beds now, you know, there's a lot of different things that are happening.
How many mental health calls do you think we have?
I would say probably 60% of the individuals we deal with are gonna be mental health stuff.
How many of them do you think are?
What do you consider mental health?
Mental health,
Yeah.
people that have mental health issues, anything, I mean, I'm including, do you guys include drugs as being mental health?
I do.
Then I would up this to 80%. Because drugs are also a mental health issue, you know, that's a substance, but it can be mental health, it stems from mental health issues, a lot of times.
A lot of times it doesn't. A lot of people are on drugs because they're on drugs. That's what they're doing.
It's a disease, people don't want to be on drugs, it's a disease.
But I'm curious to see if the mental health, what we're considering mental health, and
Well, regardless of that, and that's also an important thing, but just going back to this budget, this is also a scenario we plan for. Like, obviously, we rely on lots of grants to do things in the city. Obviously, depending who's at the state, at the federal level, a lot of that grant money could stop. So we also, I think, long-term planning, we also have to plan for that, just like Steve with, he always sees a fall in liquid fuels every year to do construction on streets. Like, we need to also look at, if grant money does stop, depending who's in the government, higher up, what are we gonna do then? So I think that's also a thing we need to look at when we do this budget, like, what'd you say you had, Steve, $5,000 or whatever it is, I forget what you said.
Oh, there's $5,000.
Yeah, but that,
Listen, I doubled it to $10,000 this year, so this.
oh my gosh, no wonder we're gonna be over budget, you minute it right there. But, it's one of those things, again, like, you know, we have to plan for the future if that money does stop, or, you know, as liquid fuels gets lower because of EV vehicles and fuel, whatever it may be.
There's no way we do it without grants.
Well, no, I get it, but you know,
Literally impossible.
but it's one of those things, like, also, we have to look long-term wise, you know, okay, obviously, we know we need grants, we know we need that, but, you know, if we're not getting as much grant money as we need to do the project, what are we doing on our back end with our own budget as well as investing into it? And Spank, as you said, every year, we always talk about, we never do it about capital outlays. We always say we're gonna do it, but we always take it out in the end, so.
Problem that we have in general, any of our projects, well, aside from like, you know, vehicles or cameras or anything like that, most of our projects, if we have it under, you know, 7 figures, it's a good day, because everything is million plus that we deal with. And, I mean, yes, it helps to plan and put some money away, but man, you're, you know, even if you can put $100,000 away, you're 10 years, 6 years, if you get 400,000. So that ends up being the problem, is the price tag for everything. Even if we wanted to put money away, it's just a drop in the bucket. I'm not saying you shouldn't necessarily do it, it's just there's no way to do it without grants.
Oh, exactly.
In general.
But, you know, it's one of those things, you know, I agree, 100% agree, but it's one of those things, we have to look, plan, long-term, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, because we don't know what the state and federal government's gonna be at, how much we're gonna be getting, and all that kind of thing. So we have to start putting plans into place. We're all long gone for the next people up here, hey, you know, they planned 15, 20 years ago to do this.
Well, in the current form of government that we have right now, from the feds down, you're grant dependent.
Oh, of
There's no
course.
way around that. You're not, you just can't, none of us can, you know, you get down to skeleton crews everywhere doing bare minimum everything,
Mhm.
and no investment into the infrastructure moving forward. And it's all grant dependent from top down.
Yeah.
So without that, you know, I don't know how you plan without.
Well, even like small stuff, like if your building down, like we relied on grant money to fix that.
Correct.
But, you know, that was over the course of, you know, how many years has that building been like that, we finally pulled the trigger on it. You know, it's one of those things like,
Well, there's
hey,
no doubt we could have created a fund, like you're saying, a capital
Yeah.
outlay fund, and say, okay, we're gonna put away, we're gonna budget $2,000 a year, $25,000 a year,
Whatever it may be, yeah.
And put it in an interest generating fund of some sort that's gonna go out there and maybe get a return on it. I agree.
yeah, like those are things that we have to do, and we'll say, I'm just making this up, Steve, in 10 years, regardless if it needs to be replaced, we're replacing it because, hey, you know, it's just being like, you know, like your fleet, like, it may not always need replaced, but you're staying ahead of it. And those are things that we have to look at long-term wise, so we're in a good financial position.
In prioritization, that's important. Because everything can't be priority number one, because there's just not enough to go around.
I want to jump back if we can for a second to the mental health piece of the police department. So, and Josh, Travis, I'm looking for a way in here. So like if I'm thinking budgetarily, if we do have some sort of mental health resource officer that's there, are we not only linking people to services, but can we do it in a way to save money? Because I'm thinking if you're taking police officers off mental health calls, linking, and also,
You're still gonna have police officers, so the mental health officer isn't gonna be able to qualify. The co-responder will not qualify.
right,
So you still are allocating the police officer, and then usually, you know, if we do have a mental health incident, then you're looking at whether it's gonna be charges, you know, whether, you know, again, we've been looking at the mental health side, because I know Governor Shapiro has really spearheaded this. And we've been looking at ways through the county of creating this behavioral health unit and stuff like that. But you still need the officer to be responding with the co-responder. And then the co-responder then basically gets follow-up on their own, but they're also going to officer going along with them, because either that person, you know, this for example, we had an individual just recently that was fighting with the cops. It was mental health. We can charge.
right.
We're going to charge somebody that has a mental health issue that we know, but that, you know, officer then had to go to the hospital, that's long way to go, that takes an officer out for at least an hour and a half, obviously.
Let me ask the question this way. We allocate, let's loosely say $50,000 to a mental health officer. Does it save us on travel, resources, reporting time?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. I think, and
To
then,
justify the position?
yes, I think a mental health co-responder would be a great addition.
So it does say, it would save stuff like time on the back end for
It's gonna
reporting
save
and all that.
probably
type of
5–10% of the back end, but it's a savings.
5–10% of what?
stuff. Time.
Okay.
It's a savings, it's something that we need to really look at.
And I'm just asking this question, as far as an officer goes, can you have a dual officer that has the police training, but also has the mental health side training as well, so they don't have to have, someone that they can go by themselves, they don't have to have an officer, deal with it? Or,
You're still gonna wanna have that protection, whether it's, you're going out there with somebody that's fighting over, has kicked somebody, punched them, they're gonna still want the officer to respond out. So they can't be, they can't be dual trained like 235, where they can't carry a handgun, they don't carry any handgun, they don't carry any type of.
does that could exacerbate the situation?
More of the ES.
Yes, we got a drill.
I didn't know, I was just seeing ways,
love it.
figure ways to save money and
And it's a
do the same thing.
Yeah.
But because it makes, regardless of any grant that we go for, it makes it look like we're subsidizing our.
Wait, what about
our budget. And I can tell you, they're big sticklers on that. So
Yeah.
that's they keep asking me that question. Anytime I put in a paper for reimbursement, they say, was this in your budget? No, this
Any
wasn't.
more
Or that's
comments
the first
on the
question. Or,
budget?
where's the capital?
Guys, any more comments on the budget here? Other than maybe next meeting we get numbers to Lisa to kind of do what we need to do and see what we're at, that way we can have a better understanding.
Yeah, I would say we can basically keep things as they are. If you're gonna raise stuff, multiple justification.
Behind it, not just say, hey, I want to do it because I want to do it.
Have a big justification why.
Yeah.
Also, we should look at the IT numbers to make sure that they're doing their reflect accurately.
I mean,
We don't want to consult the IT.
Right. That's what I mean, we need to make sure that's gonna be reflected accurate.
I mean, they should have, like, I've sent all the contracts to Lisa, so she should have those numbers. I don't know if they're in here, I don't know if they're in here.
Is IT just coming off of the top? Or are we, because I think we broke it down in each department before, are we doing that same principle, or are we just taking off the top?
I mean, once again, it's all getting paid for regardless, so we can do it, we can't do it. I mean, it doesn't really matter, we have to get a general number anyway, then break it down from in of tax, we could probably figure it out, what is last department regardless. Anybody else for the budget meeting? All right, budget meeting adjourned.